It's something that happened to me a while back that still gives me the creeps when I think about it. Picture this, it's one of those nasty, stormy nights where the rain's coming down so hard you can barely hear yourself think. I was home alone, just chilling in my little house on the edge of town. I've always loved the sound of rain, it's soothing like nature's white noise. But that night, that night was different. It was just me and the rain until I heard it knocking back. So there I was, sprawled out on the couch with a blanket, trying to get into this mystery novel I'd been obsessed with. The storm outside was loud, wind howling, branches from the old oak tree scraping against the house. Every now and then I'd jump a little when a gust hit just right. I live by myself and usually I'm cool with that, but on nights like this, I'll admit, I kinda wish someone else was around. Then out of nowhere I heard it, this faint tapping on the window behind me, the one facing the backyard. Tap, 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 pause, tap, tap, tap. At first I brushed it off. It's just the storm, I told myself. Maybe the rain hitting the glass funny or a branch being extra annoying. I turned the page in my book trying to focus, but it kept going, steady like a rhythm, not random like the weather should be. I didn't want to get up, who does, right? It's cozy under a blanket and outside, a mess. But the tapping was starting to bug me. I tried sneaking a peek over my shoulder, but from the couch I couldn't see squat, just shadows and the flicker of lightning. Tap, 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 it wasn't stopping. Finally I was like, okay, fine. I tossed the book down, my heart doing that little extra thump it does when you're annoyed but also kinda nervous. I got up slow, creeping over to the window like I was in some cheesy horror flick. I grabbed the edge of the curtain, hesitated for a sec, then pulled it back just enough to peek out. Nothing, zip, just rain hammering down, trees bending in the wind, the usual stormy chaos. I let out this big sigh, laughed at myself for being such a wimp, and started to turn back. But then tap, 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 it hit again, louder this time, like way more in your face. My stomach did a flip. Okay, maybe it wasn't nothing. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer, because of course I wasn't gonna stick my head out in that mess and shone it through the glass. The beam cut through the dark, lighting up the wet grass, the fence, but there was no one, no animal, nothing. I stood there staring, waiting for it to happen again, but it stopped. Dead quiet except for the rain. Shaking my head, I went back to the couch, muttering about how I needed to chill out. I picked up my book, got maybe 2 sentences in, and bam, tap, tap, tap. This time it was sharp, like someone knocking with their knuckles. My skin prickled. This wasn't a branch or the wind, it felt deliberate. I grabbed my phone thinking, do I call someone? The cops, Mike, but what was I gonna say? Hey, 911, my window, being rude. Nah, they'd laugh me off the line. Instead, I sucked it up, marched back to the window, and yanked the curtain wide open. Who's out there? I yelled, feeling dumb but also freaked. Rain, lightning, darkness, same old. No shadowy figure, no creepy face staring back, just the storm. But then I saw it, right where the tapping was coming from. There were these faint scratches on the glass, like something had clawed at it. And in the middle, a smudged handprint, small too, like a kid's. My breath caught in my throat. That wasn't there before. I'd have noticed it when I moved in or when I cleaned the windows last week. No way. I stumbled back, heart pounding. Was someone messing with me? A kid pulling a prank in this weather? Or was someone trying to get in? I closed the curtain fast, like that make it go away. My brain was spinning. I thought about going outside to check, but no thanks. Storm plus creepy handprint equals hard pass. Instead, I called my buddy Mike. He's chill, lives a few blocks over, and I figured he'd tell me I was overreacting. Phone rang a couple times before he picked up, sounding half asleep. Yo, what's up? Dude, I need you to come over, I said, voice shaky. There's tapping on my window and now there's a handprint on the glass. It's freaking me out. A handprint like someone's out there, he asked. I don't know, it's small like a kid, but there's no one now. Please just come check it out. He paused, then said, all right, hang tight. I'll be there in 10. Waiting for him was torture. I kept listening, expecting the tapping to start again. And then it did tap, 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 but this time it was at the front door. I froze. Was whatever it was moving around the house. I grabbed a baseball bat from the closet, tiptoeing to the door like some wannabe action hero. Who's there? I shouted. No answer. Tap, tap, tap. I peeked through the peephole, nothing but darkness. Then headlights flashed outside. Mike. I flung the door open, practically dragging him in. Dude, you look like you've seen a ghost, he said, shaking rain off his jacket. I spilled everything, the tapping, the scratches, the handprint, took him to the window to show him. He squinted at it, running a finger over the scratches. Yeah, that's weird. Looks like a kid's hand, but why'd they be out here? No clue. And it tapped the door right before you showed up. Mike frowned, let me look outside. He grabbed his flashlight and headed out, circling the house while I hovered by the door, bat still in hand. He came back soaked, shrugging. Nada, no footprints, no nothing. Rain probably washed it away. We sat there trying to figure it out. Maybe it's just the wind, he said, but I could tell he wasn't sold. Then I remembered something my grandma used to say when I was a kid. She told me stories about spirits knocking on windows during storms looking for shelter. Said if you let him in, bad luck follows. Mike smirked. What, you think it's a ghost, kid? I don't know, man, but that handprint. We stared at the window. It was still there, taunting us. Mike crashed on the couch that night just in case. The tapping didn't come back and I barely slept. Next morning, the storm was gone, sun shining like nothing happened. I checked the window again and the handprint vanished. The scratches were still there, but the print was just gone. Mike was as confused as I was. Maybe it was condensation, he said, but we both knew that was BS. I've got no explanation. Was it a prowler, a coincidence, something weirder? I looked online later. Turns out people in stormy areas sometimes hear unexplained knocks, scratches, stuff like that. No one knows why. All I know is when a storm rolls in now, I keep the curtains shut and pretend I don't hear a damn thing. I thought the rain was playing tricks on me until it left something behind. It started with the storm. I've always loved the rain, that peaceful, rhythmic tapping on the windows, the way everything smells fresh and clean after. That night, though, the rain wasn't comforting. It felt heavy, suffocating, like the sky was trying to drown the world. I was sitting by the window, half watching a movie while scrolling through my phone. Every now and then, lightning would light up the yard. That's when I saw it, a shadow, a figure standing at the edge of the yard near the old oak tree. At first, I thought it was my eyes playing tricks on me. You know how rain can distort things, make shadows look alive. But when the next flash of lightning came, the figure was closer, still as a statue. No umbrella, just standing there facing my house. My heart started to race. I tried to convince myself it was a neighbor, maybe someone caught in the rain, but something felt off. Who stands perfectly still in a downpour like that? Another flash closer. I could make out the shape now. Tall but hunched, like their shoulders were slumped forward. The rain blurred the details, but I swear they were looking right at me. I grabbed my phone to call someone, anyone, but of course the power flickered and the Wi-Fi cut out. Another flash. The figure was at the edge of the court. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't stop myself. My throat was tight, my chest felt like it was caving in. I was shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Another flash. They were gone. I stared for what felt like hours, waiting for the next burst of light. When it finally came, the yard was empty, just sheets of rain and the swaying branches of the oak tree. I let out a shaky breath, laughed a little, the kind of laugh you do when you're trying to convince yourself you're not losing it. Must have been my imagination, the storm messing with me. Then I heard it, a soft thud on the porch. I froze, my stomach dropped so fast it felt like I was on a roller coaster. Slowly, I forced myself to stand up and walk to the door. My hand hovered over the handle, but I couldn't bring myself to open it. Another thud, softer this time, like something small and wet hitting the wood. I don't know why I did it, but I peeked through the window next to the door. There was nothing there, just rain and darkness. I finally worked up the nerve to crack the door open. The wind blew cold rain into my face. I looked down. There, sitting on the doormat, was an old, faded stuffed bear. It was soaked, matted fur clinging to its misshapen body. One of its button eyes was missing. I stared at it, feeling a chill creep down my spine. I didn't own a bear like that. I didn't even know anyone who did. That's when I noticed the tag around its neck. A filthy, waterlogged piece of string held a crumpled bit of paper. I picked it up with shaking fingers and squinted to read it. 2 words scrawled in messy, childlike handwriting. I dropped the bear like it burned me and slammed the door. My heart was hammering in my chest. I locked everything, deadbolt, chain, even shoved a chair under the handle for good measure. Sleep was out of the question. By morning, the storm was gone. The sky was clear, birds were singing like nothing happened. I checked the porch. The bear was gone. I don't know who or what left it, but sometimes when it rains, I swear I see that shadow near the oak tree again, a little closer each time. So a few months back, I inherited my grandparents' old house. It's this big, creaky place that's been in the family forever. I thought, free house, score. I could save some cash, maybe fix it up a bit. Plus, it's got that cool, old-school vibe, tons of history. I've always been the skeptical type, ghosts, hauntings, all that jazz. Nah, not for me. At least, that's what I thought before this happened. Everything was chill until we got hit with this insane storm. I'm talking days of heavy rain non-stop. One morning I woke up to a nasty surprise. The basement was flooded, water everywhere. I was like, seriously? So I grabbed a flashlight, threw on some boots, and trudged down to see how bad it was. The basement was a disaster, old furniture floating around, soggy boxes, the works. I started poking around, seeing if I could salvage anything when I spotted something odd. Behind this beat-up bookshelf, there was a loose brick in the wall. I don't know why, but I had to check it out. I wiggled it free, and behind it, a small, rusted metal box. It looked like someone had hidden it there on purpose. My curiosity was buzzing. I mean, who doesn't love a secret find? I took the box upstairs and pried it open. Inside, wrapped in plastic, was an old diary. The pages were yellowed, the ink faded, but I could still read the first page. Property of Eleanor Dawson, 1952. Eleanor was my great-aunt, my granddad's sister. I'd heard whispers about her growing up. She vanished in her 20s and no one ever knew why. The family barely talked about it like it was this big, dark secret. So finding her diary, that was wild. I started reading. At first it was normal stuff, her job, her friends, daily life. But then it took a turn. She started writing about weird things happening in the house, especially during storms. Whispers in the dark, shadows moving where they shouldn't, this constant feeling of being watched. I thought maybe she was just stressed or something, but the way she wrote it, it got under my skin. Then I hit this one entry from a stormy night. She said, "The storm is raging outside and I can feel it again, that presence. It's stronger this time, like it's trying to break through. I think it's coming from the basement. There's something down there, something evil." I stopped dead. Outside, the storm was still hammering the house, and my own basement was a swamp. I felt this twist in my gut, but I couldn't stop reading. The next entries got darker. Eleanor wrote about going to the basement during that storm, trying to figure out what was up. She mentioned an old well down there, sealed off years ago. The family had covered it up because it was dangerous, but she was convinced there was more to it. Her last entry, the night she disappeared, said, "I have to know the truth. I'm going to unseal the well and see what's inside. If I don't come back, tell my family I love them." That was it, nothing else. But then at the end of the diary, there was this extra note. "To whoever finds this, I beg you, do not let my sacrifice be in vain. The well must be opened and the truth revealed. Only then can the entity be banished." It felt like she was talking to me, like she'd left this for someone, maybe me, to finish what she started. Every smart part of me screamed, "Nope, leave it alone," but I couldn't shake it. I had to know. So back to the basement I went, flashlight in hand. I started searching, moving boxes and an old rug until I found it, a patch of concrete that didn't match the rest of the floor. The sealed well. I grabbed a crowbar and started chipping away. The whole time I felt watched. The storm outside was roaring, thunder, lightning, the works, like it was egging me on. I finally broke through. There was this dark hole, maybe 3 feet wide, dropping into nothing. I shone my light down, but it was just blackness. Then this stench hit me, decay, rot, like something dead. I gagged but kept going. I rigged up a rope with a hook and lowered it, fishing for whatever was down there. After a few tries, I snagged something and pulled it up. It was a muddy, soaked bundle of cloth. I unwrapped it, and my heart stopped. Human bones, a skull, ribs, an arm, and in the skeletal hand, a locket. I popped it open, and there was a photo of Eleanor. These were her remains. She'd gone into the well and never came out. My mind was spinning. Did she fall? Was she trapped? What happened? Before I could think too hard, I heard it, a low, guttural growl from the well. I swung my flashlight back, and there they were, glowing eyes staring up at me. Then this thing started climbing out, human-shaped but wrong, with long, twisted limbs and skin that sucked in the light. Its face was pure rage, eyes like burning coals. I froze for a split second, then bolted. I ran up the stairs, that growl and heavy footsteps right behind me. I slammed the basement door shut and locked it. Silence. Then bam, something pounded the door, splintering the wood. I backed up, freaking out. What was that? The thing Alina wrote about. I grabbed the diary, hands shaking, and found a page where she'd drawn symbols and scribbled a ritual to banish evil spirits. She must have been prepping to fight it. I didn't have a better plan, so I went for it, grabbed salt, candles, and started the incantation she'd written. The pounding got louder, more desperate. The door was cracking. I finished the words just as the door exploded open. That shadowy thing stood there, glaring at me. But then it shrieked like nails on a chalkboard and started dissolving like smoke blowing away. Poof, gone. I hit the floor, panting. The storm outside, dead quiet now. Next day, I called the cops, told them about the remains. They took Alina's bones for a proper burial. I had the well sealed up tight, concrete, steel, the whole deal. I don't know what that entity was, a ghost, a demon, something worse. Maybe Alina woke it up when she opened the well, or maybe she was trying to stop it and didn't make it. Either way, I think I finished what she started. As I left the basement that last time, I swear I heard a soft thank you. I like to think it was Alina, finally free.